Thank you for tuning in to Nonprofits Talk. On this show, we discuss topics related to nonprofit capacity building, specifically in the areas of marketing and fundraising. I'm your host, Terrence Harrington. Tonight, our guest is Nathan Lee Jones. Nathan Lee Jones, MBA, is a social entrepreneur and business strategist. He specializes in technology, education, digital marketing, and arts, and most recently served as innovation analyst at CGFNS International, a global healthcare credentials evaluation nonprofit. For 8 years prior to that, he owned and operated the CODA program, a youth music education company that provided thousands of workshops to countless children throughout the Philadelphia region. His other past endeavors include an internet development company, a recording and production organization, and a branding and marketing outfit. Additionally, Nathan is a community organizer for NetSquared Chicago, an international organization that unites the technology and social impact communities. Welcome to the show, Nathan.
Thanks, Terrence. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Now, tonight we're talking about creating an effective nonprofit website. If you have questions, please give us a call at area code 312-738-1060. Again, it's 312-738-1060. Now, in my opinion, a website is the most important marketing piece a nonprofit can have. So, Nathan, talk to us about what should be included in the nonprofit's website and what should it accomplish more effectively?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And maybe even before that question is what should be accomplished with any website?
Okay.
Really, what's even the point of a website?
Yes.
Traditionally, and I've been doing websites for a long time, and I know you can relate. Websites really serve as almost a digital brochure.
Yes.
Brochureware, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we used to call them. These days, websites can really support your business model.
Okay.
And you can use it to drive your business, whatever that business objective is.
Got you.
So it's really important that organizations first understand what am I trying to accomplish, period,
Mm-hmm.
and then how can technology support that? How can the website support that? So a website, if your goal is to fundraise,
Mm-hmm.
to ultimately finance your operations out in the field, your website can certainly do that.
Gotcha.
If your organization is trying to raise awareness for a certain cause, your website can obviously do that as well.
Right.
But it's really critical that organizations first ask the question internally, what are we really out to accomplish? And then we can figure out ways that technology can support that.
Gotcha. Now, I'm quite sure you've seen, like I've seen,
Mm-hmm.
you go on some websites and they're just static.
Yes.
So nonprofits, if you're out there, if your website is over 5 years old and you haven't had any significant updates, it might be time to get a new website because you're not taking advantage of today's technology. So let's talk about some of the technology that exists today for websites.
Sure, absolutely. So, you can look at it two different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So one, there are certain trends that are happening design-wise, certain code that needs to really be out there.
Okay.
To make sure that your audience is reaching your site,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then there's also the technology itself.
Okay.
And there's different tools now that have brought price points down. But first, even looking from a design standpoint
Mm-hmm.
and some of the resources that are out there. So, for example, you can look at something like the necessity for a site to be mobile ready,
Okay.
right? And this is something that you hear a lot of conversation around. So websites these days need to be mobile friendly,
Right.
and really for a couple reasons. For a while now, and this has been sort of the ongoing trend, and it's really hit a crux, but the ongoing trend has been people are checking their emails on their phone,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you might launch a brilliant email campaign, but if I click on a link in your email and it takes me to a site that I can't read on the
Right.
phone, right? That's a problem.
Yeah.
And I'm going to close the website
Mm-hmm.
and go somewhere else.
So how does a nonprofit make their site? And the word that we're talking about is responsiveness. Is that correct?
Exactly.
So how does a nonprofit make sure that their site is responsive?
Right. So responsive design, and that's really the concept that the website will look nice on any browser.
Gotcha.
So whether it's your desktop, whether it's a large wide panel, whether it's a tablet, whether it's a phone, the website really changes to fit those dimensions.
Right.
So there are a lot of ways to implement that now, and a lot of that does go back to what we were saying as far as the design and some of the tools that are out there now. There are different templates out there. They're right out the box.
Okay.
If you use it, they're responsive templates, and you can actually purchase those. And then depending on what backend you're using, you can implement that responsive design to take advantage of the mobile readiness.
So how easy, say for instance, on staff, we don't have anybody that's really technically capable of designing a website.
Sure.
What are some of the ways that in today's technology, a nonprofit can get their website up and running.
Mm-hmm.
You know, specifically, we're talking about content management systems.
Okay, sure.
So let's touch on those.
Okay, so my personal favorite is WordPress.
WordPress.
So I'm a WordPress fan. I've used various platforms over time. When I first started, I hand coded every website.
Okay.
These days, WordPress is so powerful and it's so easy, and it's free.
It's free.
And so the code itself is free, and my typical strategy is to use the free WordPress content management system, purchase the theme from a site like themeforest.net.
Okay.
Maybe spend $50, $70 for that theme. Maybe buy a couple extra plugins for some functionality that I need to accomplish, and then really customize the look and feel of it.
Okay.
And then implement the content.
Now, how difficult is that, though? You know, do you have to have any technical skills in order to put the site up, or is, like you say, right out of the box, going to be ready to go?
So there is a range. You know, I think there is a little bit of a learning curve to WordPress. I do find it's relatively easy, and then once you have it installed, I always say if you can update your Facebook page, you can probably update your WordPress site.
Wow.
Now, there are certain aspects that might be more involved.
Okay.
So maybe there's some additional functionality that you want to create. Maybe you want to add a way for your visitors to donate money through your site.
Definitely.
So that's not as easy as just clicking a link, but it's not that far away from being able to just sort of click a couple buttons.
Right, but you're able to connect your PayPal account to your WordPress site and make that happen for you?
Yeah, and one thing that is really exciting about WordPress is there's a huge community behind it. So if you Google anything, WordPress and PayPal, WordPress and anything, you're going to find videos, a ton of instructions, and of course people that will say, hey, here's what you can do. And of course there's always resources out there if you want to hire a consultant to actually come in and do that for you.
So what features should be included? Okay, we got our WordPress site up.
Sure.
You know, but it's blank.
Right.
You know, it's pretty. You know, it's a theme there. But what should I add to my website in order to get visitors to come back and make it interactive and so on and so forth?
Right. So I always like to say that there's really two groups of people that are coming to your site.
Okay.
They're those that are meeting your brand for the first time. So for whatever reason, you know, maybe I saw an interesting ad on Facebook, or maybe I heard about your organization from a friend.
Okay.
And I go to your site. I might not be familiar with what your organization is. So for those people, they really need to understand quickly, this is what the organization is, this is the cause, this is what's expected of me, the visitor, now that I'm on the site. But then there's also people that are already supporting your brand.
Gotcha.
And they really need a different experience. So maybe they're returning to your site for a specific reason. Maybe they're going to read more about your cause. Maybe they're going to develop their own campaign that's implemented through your cause.
Gotcha.
You know, a great website that I like to reference is for Charity Water. And, you know, right there when you go to the site, it's very clear, hey, start your own campaign. Here's how you do it. Here are all the steps. So for someone that's coming to that site for the first time, it's really clear what's expected of them and what I should be doing, right? If someone's coming back to the site, it's very clear for them, well, here's where I can go. And then I can maybe navigate further through the different menu options. But it's very clear as to what I need to do.
Got you. So callers or viewing audience, if you have any questions about website design, give us a call at area code 312-738-1060. Again, that's 312-738-1060. So how often should I be updating my website?
So it really goes hand in hand with your overall content strategy. You know, these days, content is king.
Got it.
You know, so for a few reasons. So particularly with nonprofits or social impact organizations, they usually have a story to tell. And there's a lot of content there. And the reality is we are all consumed with a ton of information every day. So what you really need to do is constantly put new content out there, new fresh information for people to consume and to appreciate it. Now that can really work well for a social impact organization because they usually have some great stories, some great information to share, you know. But it's important to update the site on a fairly regular basis, also for some of the design trends and the technology changes. One thing I wanted to mention, also going back to the mobile readiness, something that's very hot right now in the sort of the marketing blogosphere are some of the new changes that Google implemented with their algorithms. So now essentially you have to be mobile ready, or rather they are changing their algorithm so that if I search for something on Google
Mm-hmm.
on my phone, it's actually notated, hey, this is a mobile-ready website.
Oh, wow.
And so obviously what's happening now is if you're not mobile-ready, you're actually getting penalized, or your results are getting bumped down in the list. Now that's great for consumers,
Right.
because if I'm browsing on my phone, I want to get to a mobile-ready website.
Yes.
But that really goes back to the point of, if you're not updating your site, you're going to miss that change.
Right.
And that's something that needs to really occur. And you have to sort of stay on top of these trends as they change.
As they develop. So how do you get a high ranking on Google or Yahoo or in search engines? How does a nonprofit go about doing that?
Right. So the concept that is really a buzz phrase is search engine optimization,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
SEO. Everyone loves
SEO.
SEO. and a lot of people talk about it. But rather than a one-time occurrence, it's really an ongoing process.
Okay.
It's really an ongoing process. I like to think of it as being sincere to your story, to your brand,
Right.
and really telling what you're doing in a very sincere, natural way.
Mm-hmm.
A long time ago with SEO, you were essentially trying to game the search engines.
Right. To get the top ranking.
Exactly. You would plug in a lot of keywords,
Right.
and hope to raise it. These days, Google's pretty smart.
Okay.
Right. So Google knows how to really surface the very relevant search results.
Okay.
So some of the basics, you need your titles correct.
Mm-hmm.
You need the name of your organization prominent. You need a lot of fresh content, we were just
Right.
saying,
Mm-hmm.
ongoing blog posts. You need people referencing your site.
Right.
You need to be posting to other sites that also link back to your site.
Okay.
But again, this is really an ongoing process
Mm-hmm.
to really rise in the search results.
So how do you build those relationships? Sharing links back
Mhm.
with another website and so on and so forth.
Well, I believe this goes back to the sincerity around
Okay.
it. So if you're a social impact organization or a nonprofit, you shouldn't be working in a silo,
Mhm.
right? And I know we've talked about that.
yeah.
Exactly. So if you have a specific cause, the
Mhm.
reality is you're probably also engaging other organizations
Okay.
to support your cause.
Got you.
So maybe you're posting on their site, right? Maybe you develop relationships with, I don't know, Huffington Post,
Yeah.
right? And then you're collaborating with other organizations to
Mhm.
co-author pieces,
Okay.
right? And it sort of widens the conversation around your cause,
Yes.
right? And
Mhm.
then essentially drives traffic, increases search results.
Mhm.
It creates more shareable links on all the social media outlets,
Mhm.
and it's really this ongoing conversation that should be happening organically and in person anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is, well, how do you transfer that conversation to the virtual world?
Okay. So how many hours? And I know we spoke to updating the site on the daily, on a regular basis,
Mhm.
but should this be done daily? In conjunction with your social media, how does that look?
Right. So, social media is almost a different animal than the website,
Than the website,
in and of
okay.
itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard a lot of thinking around social media that
Mm.
you should be expecting to dedicate about an hour a day,
Okay.
really a minimum, to really see results.
Let's see results. Okay.
So one could argue it could be similar with the website.
Mm-hmm.
The website doesn't necessarily need to be updated as frequently.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're doing first, though, is looking at your overall content strategy.
Okay.
So you might determine once a week we want to post a blog article on a
Mhm.
certain perspective. So maybe you're only updating your site once a week.
Okay.
But then maybe you want to make sure that you're updating your programs or information around your services once a month.
Got you.
And that's reasonable.
Mhm.
But the key is, again, to be sincerely engaging the community and really constantly engaging in the conversation. So it could be effective to update your site
Mhm.
once a week, but you're on Twitter every day.
Right.
It really sort of goes hand in hand. It's no longer just your website.
So how do you find time? I'm a staff of 3.
Right.
And I know I need to be on Facebook. I need to be on Twitter. And now you're telling me I need my website done every day.
Right.
Where do I find time to do this? Is this something that I can put on autopilot?
Well, so one thing that's really good news is
Mhm.
the tools are easier and easier to use.
Got you.
So when I had to update websites by code,
Mhm.
by hand,
HTML.
right, that was a little more cumbersome.
Okay.
These days, I can literally update my WordPress from my phone.
Wow.
Right, so that's not as hard to update your site, period.
Now, how do you do that from your phone?
Well, so I have the WordPress app
Okay, on your phone. Okay.
for my phone, for my Android phone. I know we
Mhm.
were talking about
Yeah,
Android devices.
yeah.
So I can actually post blog articles. I can add photos to my website,
Okay.
all from my phone. Now, you might want more control by using it at a desktop,
Okay.
but it just shows you the range of options that are available
Right.
now. I really expanded.
Right.
There are certain things that you can automate. So just for example, even with my own site, I often will I'll create a series of blog posts and then schedule them ahead of time.
Okay.
So maybe I block out 2 hours once a week to write a few different things, right? And then schedule it to post twice a week.
So let's talk to that.
Sure.
Because okay, if you're familiar with WordPress, there's a back room where you're doing the work, right?
Right.
So I'm on WordPress. Is there a plugin to schedule that? You know that okay, I want this blog to upload on Thursday at 2:00.
So that's right. So that's actually built-in functionality.
Oh wow!
That's right there, right out the box.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
wow.
it's a great tool, and it's something that I think people underutilize. It's really easy to do. Essentially, instead of hitting publish, you just hit right above that option is a link to schedule it for a certain time.
So I know publish, draft, and now you're telling me there's a schedule button there as well?
And specifically one of the links says publish immediately. You just click that to actually schedule the day and time.
Didn't know that.
Right,
Didn't know
that's
that.
right built in.
So say that again. You block off about 2 hours a week.
Right.
Get you get your blogs together for the week, and then you schedule them.
Exactly.
Oh, that's powerful.
And that can be as involved as you like it. So there are plugins to allow you to collaborate with others. There's a specific plugin where you can actually create a content calendar right in WordPress, and then you can invite other people within your organization to contribute.
Right.
And then you can schedule out a series of posts. So maybe you have one person driving that effort, and that person is scheduling things throughout the week based on everyone's feedback over time.
So what is a plugin? Because I know some people out there, they may not be technical in regards to WordPress. They may be fairly new to WordPress. So what is a plugin?
Right. So one thing that's really powerful about WordPress is, again, it's a content management system. But it's really just a core base of code.
Okay.
So plugins allow you to extend the functionality. So for example, you might install a plugin to integrate a contact form.
Okay.
Or a plugin to integrate PayPal.
Okay.
So that really provides you a lot of additional functionality to meet what your organization needs. So oftentimes I'll sit down with the organization. They know they want to be online, so WordPress will accomplish that. But maybe the organization needs really extensive photo galleries.
Yeah.
Or they need a way to, again, gather a lot of information, or a way to connect. When someone fills out a contact form, they want it to go into their content or their customer relationship management tool, right? So there's plugins for each of those tasks.
Wow.
Right, and there's thousands. I don't know the limit, but there's thousands of plugins out there, and there's new ones every day. Some are free, a lot are free,
right?
And there are some that are even considered premium that you can purchase.
Wow. You hear this, nonprofits? You can get your website up and running, have all these functionalities to get donors and get volunteers and everybody else that you need coming to your website. So, if you have any questions about website design, we got a few more minutes here. So give us a call at area code 312-738-1060. Again, it's 312-738-1060. So Nathan, talk to us about how a nonprofit can gauge the effectiveness of their website.
So hands down, the first tool I always go to is Google Analytics. Google Analytics, it's a free tool. It's fairly easy to use to start with, but it's also very powerful, and you can really customize it and really get some detailed information on how effective your site is doing.
Okay. And so what am I looking for in Google Analytics?
Right.
How many people have come to my site, and if I get that information, what can I do with that?
Sure. So that's always the first thing people look for, right? Am I driving traffic to my site?
Yes.
Now, I have 500 visitors this month.
Right.
I have 10,000 visitors this month, and that's always been a metric people have looked at. What's really great about Google Analytics, now you can actually run tests to see, so not only are people coming to my site, but where are they going once they get to the site?
Gotcha.
Did they click on the About page? Once they went to the About page, where are they going? And Google Analytics actually has some great visualizations to help for decision makers to see, well, this is how people are navigating through my site. Just as an example, one project I was working on, we launched an email campaign, and we're trying to really gauge the effectiveness. And then we were looking at, well, should we really revamp this one particular page to really have more information on it, to be more robust? When we looked at Google Analytics, we started to see, wait a minute, of all of our pages, about 0.1% are actually going to that page.
Okay.
So maybe we don't need to spend as much time editing that page.
Right.
But we see, wait, 50% are going to the home page, and then they're leaving the site. So what can we do on that home page to actually keep people on longer?
Okay.
So Google Analytics allows you to quickly see, and even real time, you can actually see people real time on the site, where are they going, what are they clicking on, and you can start to run tests. What if I move the button in a different place?
Wow.
What if I change the menu? You can run tests to see what's really being effective or not being
So
effective.
how do you know, okay, if you move the button, how does Google Analytics tell you that you should have the button on the right side as opposed to the left side?
Right, and this is where it gets a little more
Technical?
involved, a little
Okay.
more technical. And traditionally, there's something called A/B testing, as in A versus B.
Okay.
And it's the idea that you can actually run multiple versions of your site simultaneous.
Wow.
And some of the traffic will go to one version, some traffic will go to the other version. And you're essentially running a scientific experiment, right? You have sort of a control group, and then you change variables for another group. And you start to measure, well, my control group that stayed the same, this is what's being effective. Now that I've changed the layout of this page in my experimentation group, we're seeing that 10% more are going to where I want them to go.
Got you.
So maybe now I want to implement that through my whole site.
Got you. All right. Again, callers, 312-738-1060. 312-738-1060. So when you were talking about the analytics, that got me to thinking about how can I monetize the website? Outside of requesting donations, because if I get that information from Google Analytics, can I use that, to possibly get sponsors and things of that nature?
Right. And this really goes back to the core of what is your business model. How are you generating revenue? Is it only donations? Are you able to create revenue any other ways? Period.
Got you.
Once you sort of answer that, then you can see, well, maybe there's a way online to make that work for me.
Right.
So it might be beyond just soliciting general population for donations. Maybe you really want to get to some big name funders.
Right.
So what information needs to be on the site so that those funders are starting to be drawn to your site and they're starting to be influenced around, hey, this might be an organization that I want to get behind.
Got you.
So then when they get that phone call, they've already been exposed to your
with you.
brand,
Okay.
and they're a little more encouraged to.
So does that go back to the keywords? How do we position ourselves that, if we're trying to get at the Annie Casey Foundation, do I go on their site, see what their interests are, and then try to, not trying to change our mission, but staying in line with our mission, but we definitely want them to be aware of what we're doing. Can we put Annie Casey in our search engine keywords?
So people certainly do. I think that has limited effectiveness.
Okay,
again,
that's gone.
Google's gotten pretty smart. And I think that does work to a degree. But I think it really goes back to, again, the sincerity around what you're doing, and particularly again for nonprofits and social enterprise organizations, they often really have a very compelling story to tell.
Right.
And that story often is undertold and undersold, really. And the more you tell that story, that's how you get people rallying behind your brand, right? Now you're creating shareable content that people may post on Facebook or are exposed to a funder in a different way. So maybe now, as a person, and not myself, but as a person with large amounts of capital looking to fund an organization, maybe I'm looking through the blogs and people that I support, and one of them posted a really interesting story.
Okay. Where
there's a video clip, a photo with just a great caption, and that sparks my interest. Now I click that link, take me to the website, and now I'm starting to see, this looks interesting, and I see how I might be able to be involved, or maybe this is a brand that I want to just pay attention to.
So speaking of photos, do you optimize your photos as well? Is there a way to do that?
Sure. Well, so this is one way. I'm still a little old school. I do all my photos still in Photoshop.
Okay.
Now there are a lot of free online tools, everything to make images, to optimize images, and there's some great resources out there to do that.
Okay.
In general, it's less of a concern these days, but you really do want to optimize your photos so they don't take a long time to load.
Okay.
Of course, now we're in the days of broadband. Yeah. Everyone's connection is faster, so it's not as critical.
So no more what was it, 256? What was the dial-up connection? I can't even remember. It's been so long ago.
We all know the sound, but
right.
The AOL dial,
right?
Yeah, back then you really had to optimize images.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because now we can use nonprofits. You can incorporate videos and everything else into your website and really get people to evangelize what your cause is.
Definitely.
So, go ahead, Nathan.
And along those lines, these days you can actually then embed. You're embedding from other sites, so you're embedding a YouTube video within your site.
Right.
That really helps.
Awesome. So listen, guys, we're coming to the end of our program. If you want to get more information about our guests, please visit us online at www.nonprofitsmatter.org. You can find out more about Nathan and his company. Again, it's www.nonprofitsmatter.org. Nathan, thank you again for being a guest tonight, and I appreciate you coming on. Next week, we're going to be talking about nonprofits and technology. And remember, guys, if people don't know you exist, they can't support you. So thank you for tuning in to Nonprofits Talk.